Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Grievance channel. With me tonight is
Con?
Can.
Con is good enough, and you will see me in the channel as Kaidubi if I respond to a question, so don't be alarmed at the difference in the names.
Yes, dooby dooby doo. Um, we're kind of calling this old PC, um, basically because especially this time of year, everybody going to school, everybody trying to get stuff for their kids or just their own personal stuff. We're trying to get computers the kids can work on, and I don't know how many other people are like me, but we always have a ton of old equipment hanging around, and I happen to have a couple of machines that looks like this. They're heavy. They're very heavy. The
Oh,
old
I moved those around. They're not that bad.
the old workhorses of about 7 or 8 years ago. The Dell Optiplexes. This is a Dell Optiplex 745. I actually have a couple of them, hence the reason why they're corporate workhorses. Um, these two particularly have Pentium Ds in them. The one we're going to be working with tonight has a is a Pentium D 820 Smithfield. It's a 2.8 gigahertz processor. I bumped a little bit more RAM into it. It's got running 2.5 gigabytes of RAM right now, and it was running off XP. Um, Run like a dog with 7, and it's not even going to support 10. So, got a hold of my friend Khan here, and decided that maybe we can run Linux on it. What do you think?
I think we can totally do it. It's not a problem. Now, we picked a distro that is very graphically nice to look at, and hopefully the kids will enjoy using it. I think that's people underrate how much that plays and how much people like these things.
Yeah,
But so we'll see. If it's a little too slow, we may have to fall back and do another episode where we put on something slightly light and people can see the difference.
exactly. Um, it's definitely nice looking. It's very reminiscent if of Mac. It looks a little bit like Mac. But before we get too far, I think we should give a little bit of history of what Linux actually is and where it started from. Khan here is a little bit more familiar than I am, but I'll try to get started and then we'll figure out, at least give the basic history of what it is. Linux originated as actually the kernel of it was built by Linus Torvald back in 1991. He was a 21-year-old college student. Back about this time, you had the big Unix systems, via AT&T, Berkeley with their BSD, um, big, huge systems, expensive systems. You weren't running these things at home. And then Intel was kind enough to come out with the 8386 processor, which, as I don't know how many of you realize, that is basically the birth of the home PC as we know it. Uh, Pretty much every PC since then, architecture wise, is based off the 386 until you're getting to the more recent tablets, which is different architecture. I'm right there, right, Con?
Basically, yeah, you'll see most processors referred to as x86 in parentheses at the end of them, and that means the instruction set that they use is based. It has grandfathered in all of those things all the way up the chain.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hence the reason you can still run DOS on our new computers.
Sort of.
Yeah.
You'd have to play some tricks on it to hack in an actual DOS implementation these days. DOS doesn't have driver support for modern hardware.
No, that is the failure. It also won't be able to read the amounts of memory that people are running, or the size of the hard drives either.
That's true. The quote from the head of IBM was, "No one will ever need more than 64K of memory."
Exactly. Go old people like me. I remember that. Um, so anyway, back 90 early late 80s 90s. Um, the Unix systems, they're all expensive and they're all proprietary. Everybody owned the kernel. The GNU project, they had pretty much built everything else except the kernel. The kernel they were still, I think, building around was the AT&T Curd kernel. Um,
So it's a couple of things there. It's GNU is how they pronounce it. Pretty much everywhere. Run to a Linux geek, he's going to correct you and say it's GNU. So I guess that makes me a Linux geek because I just did.
yep, 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 yep.
But GNU was started by a gentleman by the name of Richard Stallman. He was a professor at MIT, and he wrote, among other things, and probably the most powerful thing he did was he actually wrote the GNU public license, the GPL. GNU, as he will finally tell you, is actually a recursive acronym. GNU stands for GNU is not Unix.
Really?
Yes. So the acronym is embedded in the name of the acronym. So it's a little bit of playful mischief there, is how he describes it, and it's kind of indicative of how the Unix world worked. Anyway, he's an old school hippie. There's just no denying it, and has some very firm ideas about how things should work, but always had a hard time getting, and wrote a gazillion tools, all the little bits and pieces of what we consider today a modern distro, or even the Unix tools, things like ping and FTP and uh, uh, the IP stack and a handful of other things. They all put that together for free, and they passed it around to their buddies, all their other Unix admin buddies, and they were all using these GNU tools. But the one piece they could never get enough people to agree upon at the time of how to do it was the kernel. And then this Norwegian gentleman by the name of Linus. In America, he says Linus. In Norway, I think he says Linus. And he came along, and he was a poor college student, and he wanted to run Linux, like you say, on the machine, and couldn't, so he wrote it for himself. And then people said, "Hey, share that with me."
Yeah, I'm actually I was looking at the little bit of a wiki, and it has his posting that he posted to his to the news group. Um, Basically, just saying I don't plan for it to be big. I don't plan for it to be huge. I just want it to run on what I'm running on, essentially. Um, yeah, and it's gotten big.
Quite a bit, and like I say, largely that's, if you actually end up watching, or there are some really excellent documentaries out there. Revenge of the Nerds. Is it Nerds? I believe it is. It's actually, kind of a play on the movie. Is a really excellent one to watch, and you'll see Richard Stallman, you'll see Linus, and the kind of the beginnings of it all there, and they will. Um, Richard always refers to it as GNU Linux. I think he's a little bit hurt that he doesn't get as much credit as he probably ought to. Frankly, like I say though, the licensing by which these things are allowed to be distributed, and we talk about free. A lot of people know or think of Linux as a some free operating system. It's not, and I think sometimes people think it's good because it's free. But you really have to understand, and their favorite saying is to say it's free as in freedom of speech, as in free speech. It's not free as in free beer.
Yeah, and to lead in and to lead off from that a little bit, just so everybody understands, I mean, the kernel and the basis of the whole thing is, is free, like is freedom of speech. But you've got a lot of companies out there that customize their own software on top of it, put their own code on top of it, which is proprietary. So,
Can be.
can be, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't, but there are a few out there that it is.
There are. Most companies, and this is kind of also a Richard Stallman idea that he wants. What they sell is support,
Hmm.
right? So, and this is true in most Linux distros. And I can tell you the exceptions if you're interested. But um, most Linux distros are free. You can go out and you can get. But if you want support, the best you're going to get is news groups or forums, unless you pay for it. Now you can go out and there are companies that you can pay for and say, "What's wrong with my system?" They will help you figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, but that's his model. That's how he thinks people should make money, not like Microsoft, who makes money off of uh, selling you the code and then always has to convince you to buy a new version of code, which has its problems in that uh, it doesn't encourage people to to spend a lot of time fixing what they've already sold.
Hmm.
Right? They want to sell you new features. They don't want to fix what they already gave you that's somehow in some minor little way. And that's always been the war between the different types of operating systems and the people who like them or love
Yeah.
them.
And in some cases, very much so love.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. So we can keep continue on probably for that for a while, but just to keep us going here. So we already picked out a distribution that we're going to try. How did you come to that? What factors involved, and where did you go to figure this stuff out?
Sure. Well, I think you were going to put up, and that would probably be a good time to put up a site called DistroWatch. And distrowatch.com is a website that's been around for years, and it's got its own little controversies, but it's probably the easiest place to find just about every Linux distro that exists. And I should explain what a distro is. Now, Wendell was just talking about a kernel. A kernel is the very smallest piece that is absolutely necessary for your hardware to talk to different pieces of software. Okay, and then what a distro is they take the kernel and add a whole bunch of different programs for everything from pointers to network card drivers to video drivers to a GUI that you use and buttons that you click and text editors and this and that and the other. Uh, and they put all these things together in a way that suits them, and they call that a distribution
Hmm.
or distro. So DistroWatch has most of them. You'll see a ranking on the right-hand side of the most popular ones. Basically, the ranking there. A lot of people take that to be the most popular distribution at the time, and often it's true, at least for the first few. But it's actually a measurement of the number of times that people have looked at the web page on DistroWatch for a distribution. It
Okay.
doesn't mean they downloaded it, doesn't mean they installed it, just means that people looked at it. You'll see Linux Mint is number one right now. I'm not sure what is number two.
It's
Uh,
Debian.
Debian.
Yep.
Okay, Debian just came out with a brand new release, Debian 8, with a whole bunch of new features, um, and including some very technical features that I won't go into. Um, so that's why Debian is suddenly, and you'll see a little arrow next to that, and it shows how much, how many new looks there are, or that it's an up or a down. How many, from compared to last week.
Yeah. Yesterday it was three down, so there was three higher than yesterday, basically.
Okay. Well, if you looked at it a couple months ago, it's probably 100 up
And
because so so the so I looked through these and I looked for one that would run okayish, or that people had made comments that it ran okayish on slightly older equipment.
now, one thing, especially anybody that's a little bit new, I mean, most people I think are gonna at least head towards the larger names or the bigger names, the names that know, like the Ubuntu, the Fedoras, the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but there's like hundreds. I mean, just this list is just the top 100, and I would imagine if this is the top 100, there's probably several hundred, if not thousands, more types of distributions, and it's kind of a little bit overkill.
Well, there are, and it's basically anybody can make a distribution. I can make a distribution. I could make a distribution that included all the installables for Steam and TeamSpeak and a few other things, and I could make a grievance distribution and
I
put it
bet
out there and let people download it.
I bet you Steele would be thrilled if you did that.
It's a lot of freaking work. I'm not going to do it. Sorry.
Sorry, you already said it. You've been voluntold.
I've been voluntold. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are people that do it, and then there are a lot of them that do it as a company. Those tend to be the bigger ones. They do a lot of fundraising to get enough money to put it together, and some of them are just pure one-man shows, and they just put them together. You usually, for most people, unless you're a true diehard, I'm never going to recommend anything that doesn't have a company behind it, because you want constant, consistent support, right? You want patches to come out. In the Windows world, Patch Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Once a month on Tuesday, the world goes crazy and tries to install all these Microsoft patches that break everything and whatever.
And all of a sudden, the IT support people around the world have suddenly gotten pissed off.
Yeah, often enough. I mean, they're better. They're way better about it than they used to be. I got to give them proper credit there. But yeah, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So Linux releases them. Each particular little teeny piece of program has typically has a project manager or somebody who's in charge of it at any given time, and it changes because they tend to be volunteers, or sometimes they're like paid support people from like Red Hat or IBM, supports some of the real deep down pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get 5 in a day, 5 little tiny pieces that update, and it'll be a tiny little 20K file or 4K file, and it'll update that program. So it's a constant stream of updates with most Linux distributions. So that's a big difference, and I lost where I was going with all that.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. Well, I guess I'll throw us back on track. Now you're discussing you when you're looking through for a distribution, you're looking for what's popular. You're looking for somebody that has a legitimate company behind it, not some guy out in his garage.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what happens with the guys out in the garage is that they just stop doing it, and all of a sudden, your updated OS is 2 years old.
Exactly. Now the beauty is there's no licensing, nothing that forces you to update it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Windows 10. Nothing forcing you to go to the next operating system. You can stay with it, and as long as people are releasing patches with it, or even if it just runs and you're happy with it and you don't think it's a particular security risk, which it's usually not, we are starting to see, as you get more and more acceptance, you're starting to see some incursions from all of the security people into the Linux. But it tends to get fixed very quickly. People take it very personally when you break something of theirs, that they wrote it, and it tends to be people writing these things. But yeah, so you want a bigger company. So I picked one that was fairly light, made by a well-supported organization that had been around for a long time, and looked good.
Now, for those
was going to be familiar and easier for people to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, just for a little definition, what do you refer to? What do you mean when you say light?
So Linux can be configured a lot. Linux is fantastically more configurable than Windows. Of course, that means you have to configure it. So the distro people put them together, and they put them together with different purposes in mind. And some of them are to run on older, slower hardware.
All right.
And what they'll do, boy, it's a little tough to explain. There are ways you can optimize for older hardware. You don't need to load up all the drivers for the latest 4K video card if you're aiming at an older if you're aiming your distribution at an older lighter machine.
Hmm.
You don't assume that you're going to have 4 to 8 gigs of RAM to play with. You might assume you're only going to have one. So you got to, so what preloads when you first start up, you put that down to the bare minimum. Uh, a network stack, a graphic stack, the ability to move a mouse around and get into GUIs, and you can write GUIs and stuff without all these 3D and effects, which we could talk about. They're called compiz. That gives you all sorts of. You can actually do some nifty things that you still can in Windows. Transparency in a menu bar. You first saw that in what, Windows 7?
Hmm.
Windows 7. That was out 4 years before that with Linux. But it takes up extra RAM and extra processor power, all that stuff. So if you're making a light distro, you aren't going to enable that by default.
Yeah.
If you're doing Ubuntu, if you're doing Mint, some of the others, and they'll tell you, we're trying to make the fastest, most powerful OS we can.
So
You
that's
can pretty much bet they're going to have everything in the kitchen sink enabled.
and that's also probably for the machines that are running the i7s and the quad cores and the 6 cores and the 8 core machines.
Absolutely.
All right.
Abs-
Uh, okay, so we found something that was light that was supported.
yep. So I do want to say something a little bit about that as far as we're going to try this and hopefully it's reasonably fast on us or for us. But the fact is it's not going to make that Pentium D suddenly run like an i7.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. This is
You're not going to be playing. You're not going to load Steam and then load up Portal 2 and start running around and whatever.
yeah. And just so everyone is aware, I did put an aftermarket card in here. It's a GeForce 210. Not exactly the hottest thing. I think it's about $20 online right now. Um, and yeah, this is not meant for gaming. I'll probably put
Some
Minecraft on
extra
here,
Minecraft.
Minecraft on here for
Okay.
my sons. Uh, Hopefully it'll run. I think it should. I mean, it's not. It's a 2.8 gigahertz. It's a 2.5 gigs of RAM. It should run it. I think.
Oh, I'm pretty confident it'll run, whether it runs quickly enough or if everything just seems too slow to be usable. That'll
Yeah.
be the question, and we'll find out in a little bit.
Okay.
So we looked at all these distros, and the one that I thought was going to be pretty enough to keep people involved and has a reputation for being a little light on the resources, lighter than some others, was called Elementary.
Hmm.
And we can put the link in the chat notes or in the chat channel here.
Yeah, and that's let's see, this is number 11 on the list.
Yep. And they just had a fairly recent release, so they've got a lot of little extra stuff going on right now.
All right.
And to me, it looks an awful lot like a Mac. Now, I don't. Now, this is not the distribution that I use. I gotta come clear about that. I actually use Mint, a pretty heavily modified Mint, but that's one that I'm using. And I'm actually, while I was doing all this research for you, I came across something called Super X. That sounded really interesting because they take advantage of people who have i7 processors and 16 gigs or more of RAM to make the whole system seem more responsive rather than assuming that you have less.
Really?
Yeah. So I was going to give that on my main machine.
Yeah, might
Also
as
very
well,
very
right?
popular very popular right now is Ubuntu Mate. You'll see Mate. They pronounce it Mate. It's French.
It's not mate,
Um,
it's Mate.
it's Mate because it's actually supported by the Mint. is a guy by the name of Clement Lefebvre, and he's French,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't like the direction that Ubuntu had gone with their interface.
All
It's
right.
very tablet oriented because Ubuntu is trying to have a stated goal of making a unified operating system. And mind you, they were doing this years before Microsoft or Apple were talking about it,
Yeah.
where they want a phone and a tablet and a PC to look the same.
So pretty much ahead of
So,
its time, ahead of its time by far.
absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, well, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, us geeks, us computer, especially Linux guys, we said, we hate this. A PC is not a tablet. We don't want it to work like a tablet. We want it to work like a PC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Clement did what's called forking, and he said, you know what? We're going to take the Ubuntu code and then we're going to modify it and make it ours so that we use a different desktop. And he actually came out with two different types of desktops.
Mm-hmm.
And a desktop is all of the icons, how your windows react when you click buttons, how you close them, open them, enlarge them, that kind of thing. That's all. That's all done in what's called a Windows Manager, combined with a desktop environment. And he made one that was called Cinnamon, and he made one that was called Mate.
Uh,
So,
get the
and
charger right there.
uh, and Mate, and ironically enough, the more Ubuntu then in reverse adopted Mate
Mm-hmm.
for its interface, or for an option of its interface. It actually has several different options, several different things you can do, and that one's rather too. So I would recommend that if you have a mediumly powerful machine, something relatively modern.
All right, like an i3.
Well, i3 certainly would do it. Even if you have just a few years older i5 or one of the last generations of Core 2 Duo would run
Mm-hmm.
it. Biggest thing you're going to want is more RAM and a better video card because it's got some 3D effects that you can enable
Okay.
uh, that will benefit from that. So cool. So
All
let's get
right.
started, man.
I'm
We're
I'm
a half
game.
hour into it.
Yes. Yes. Let's get started. Um. All right. Let's get Chrome off there. Or actually, let me leave up Chrome for a second. Did you want to talk about the eLive real quick, or just skip past that? Because I know you said you're looking at mainly two for me originally. You said the eLive and the Elementary.
Yeah, Eli is a fairly light but fairly powerful distro. Uh, it's based on Ubuntu. It's tweaked down a little bit as far as some of the heavier RAM and CPU using things that are on there by default. Uh, I thought about it. I didn't think it was quite as pretty.
All right.
So
All right. Well, then look at that. Now, first thing I did. Now I've already downloaded the ISO and gotten it onto a USB drive. This is the website right here. It's elementary.io. And it's a very clean website. It's very pretty. And as you can see from here, it is a very Mac-like orientated, Mac-like looking distribution. With the dock down at the bottom, very very Mac-esque. And I guess there was an issue or some complaints about the little donation buttons. You can download it for free. You just under custom here, you just hit the zero sign and hit download, and it does offer up two versions. You've got a 32-bit and a 64-bit. I did download both. I made the USB key off of using the 64-bit just because this, as far as I know, is supposed to support 64-bit operating systems. So we'll see if it does.
okay,
Um, First thing I did is I downloaded it, and what they recommend is a program called Rufus to create your bootable ISO or your bootable USB. It's right there on the screen. It's very simple. You download it and you don't even have to install anything. You just start it and you run it. You pick which device you want. Actually, I can probably throw up Rufus if anybody wants to. But the instructions are pretty much right there. You're going to choose the image you want right under the ISO, under ISO, and then hit the image you want where you downloaded it to. And then hit start. You're going to want at least a 1 gig. This is a 2 gigabyte, which I created right here. That's pretty much it. It took about maybe 5 minutes, so it was pretty quick. So let's get it started.
All right.
Let's get my camera.
Now, I didn't lead him to Rufus, so hopefully this thing works out pretty nicely.
Yeah, actually, the Elementary IO website did. So
Excellent.
I'll just fix it in my production there. All right. So plug the USB key in, and let's get started. Now, like I said, I did upgrade the RAM on here. It's running 2.5 gigabytes of RAM now. I updated put in an aftermarket card, so it's running a GeForce 210.
I think that's what my wife has in her machine.
Let's see. Let me edit the scene a little bit here to fix the. It's nice little keyboard equals mouse, or keyboard equals DaVinci Man, right there.
Cool. I see the Debian base boot menu there. That little RAM thing in that. That's very common. All right.
Yeah, nice little
Right in.
cursive E.
Yeah, right into a nice little splash screen for a start there.
Yeah. Now I haven't installed it. I did run it. It does this ISO, this image will actually let you try out the image a little bit, or try the distribution before you actually install it. Mainly, I do know it does run, and actually we can go ahead and try Elementary right now, and I'll show you what it does. It does run a little bit slower according to the website, and I'm basically because you're just running off the USB instead of the hard drive.
Can you bring in the camera a little bit, or zoom it in a little bit?
You want to zoom it in? I can make it bigger.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it in the stream, but the windows are just kind of a big white blob.
The windows are a big white blob.
When a program is open on the screen,
Oh,
can't really
I
see.
got you. I got you.
I'll see a background with a big white square in it.
Okay. I'll apply by ear and see what we can do.
All right, cool.
All right. Actually, let's do it this way. See if it'll correct the color a little bit. I'm using this off another camera, obviously.
Yeah, just a little bit nicer, but you aren't going to be able to sit there and hold it the whole time.
No. I wonder if I play. I wonder if I play it with the color screens, if it'll make it a little bit nicer. Let's see.
We'll see.
All right. So this is the distribution. You've got your dock down here at the bottom. It comes with videos. It comes with music. It comes with a calendar app. Now I don't know what Geary is.
Geary is a
Email client.
Yeah.
Let's,
I don't particularly use it, but I hear it's supposed to be pretty decent, actually.
Yeah, it is just a big blob on the screen.
So I want a little bit about what you've done is called, or it used to be called booting as a live CD, right? So you're actually running the entire operating system without touching your hard drive at all. Right now, it's just using your RAM, motherboard, processor, and video card.
Yeah.
Getting off of your USB drive 100%. You can also do this from a CD-ROM. Now, a CD-ROM and a USB drive are, of course, considerably slower. I'm assuming it's USB 2 than an internal hard drive, so the operating system is not going to be as fast as it would be as if you had installed it. And it's also not going to set up drivers and such for in any kind of permanent way. It's going to use as generic a driver as it can for your hardware.
Hmm.
So that's why. So for anybody that didn't understand what we're talking about, trying it before you install it.
Okay.
That's what Wendell was talking about.
All right. Now, up in the upper right hand corner, you have kind of like your system tray, kind of. You've got your power. Basically, you can shut down, restart up in the upper right hand corner. You've got your see notifications. I know there's big white blocks. Anybody in the chat room wants me to zoom in on something, I will. You've got your network. If it's Wi-Fi, of course, it'll say Wi-Fi here, of course, in addition to the Ethernet.
Now, are you running this machine plugged in cabled, or are you running it off of Wi-Fi?
Cabled, it's Ethernet.
Okay, cool. It found it and connected, I bet.
Oh yeah, no, it you can it comes with your web browser Midori,
Okay.
and I mean just no setup. It just straight out to the internet. It went to its own website. We'll head out news.google.com. I mean, it's certainly very nice and clean looking. That's for darn sure. Upper left hand corner, we've got applications that are pre-installed, like your Gparted, which is your hard drive tool, if you want to call it that. I noticed they've got files under the applications, which
File manager.
exactly.
Yep. So that'll be all your folders and stuff. Now here's an interesting thing for those of you. If you're trying to troubleshoot a machine and you don't know what's wrong, it's got a virus or something, you can plug this in. What Wendell just made here, plug it in, boot up your machine. It'll probably run right straight from the disk. 98% of the time. Occasionally, it'll run into, if you've got a weird piece of hardware, it'll have a problem with it. But it's been really, really rare for years. And now you're running off of your software, but their hardware. So if there's a hardware problem, you're going to find out. If it's a software problem, for instance, my mother called me one day and said her laptop was running like crap, and there was this problem and that problem, and when could I come up there and do something about 200 and some odd miles away? So I said, let me mail you a disk. So I mailed her a Linux Mint disk, and she booted from it, and she was running from it, and it was great because she could still do her Facebook and look at the pictures of her grandkids and whatever else that she does on the thing. And play. She's addicted to those silly little flash games, but she never pays for them, so she always goes through these weird sites to get them. Well, you know what's happening. She's got about a bazillion malware infections.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't really generally happen in Linux because the programmers don't write for it, because it's frankly too server-based right now still. So in Linux, she could do that all day long, and it never got any slower. So she was like, this laptop is so much faster running off of this CD than it was off of Windows. I hate Windows.
No. You should hate yourself because you caused your
own. Well, so eventually get up there. She had me actually install Linux, and she's been running Linux for about 4 years now.
Nice. You've
just because
congratulations.
To her it was faster. Actually, she was worried I was going to take the disk back.
Nice.
When I came up, yeah. Well, you aren't going to take this away.
It's so nice. Now this also does come with its own app store, or well, they call it Software Center.
Okay.
Very reminiscent of Apple App Store.
Now, one thing, and I don't know in particular about this distro, but most distros will not include anything that you have to pay for in their app stores. Ubuntu does have some, and it's pretty clearly laid out in their app store, and actually that looks like Ubuntu's app store. So they might have just ported that in. It might be a downstream of Ubuntu. I didn't actually look, to be honest. So yeah, you can if you clicked on the category games on there, you could just find a game and install it. You might even be able to do Minecraft that way when we get the OS installed.
Actually, let's take a look. Let me get the camera back on. Uh-oh. All right, there we go.
Back
There
on
we
your
go.
little stand.
Yep,
All right.
I'm actually got it hanging. You can actually, well, if my I won't move the other camera right now. Um, Now their app store does have LibreOffice in it. I already looked that up. That's one, especially for my daughter. She's sixth grade.
LibreOffice wasn't installed by default. A lot of distros will
I didn't
install it
see
by
it.
default.
I didn't see it. Well, I had. Okay, well, I guess let me phrase that. It's not in the live CD by default, so we'll find out when we go to install it.
Okay,
But if
cool.
it's not in there, it's right there in the App Store, easy enough to find, like LibreOffice Math and Impress and everything like that. LibreOffice, I think is right, and especially for
Okay.
my daughter who's in sixth grade and is going to be have to do whatever reports and stuff like that. Very important she has access to a word processor that's decent. So,
Yeah. Now LibreOffice is absolutely compatible with most current versions of Office. I use it every day for work, and I can save all the XH, you know, XLSX files, which are the current extension for Excel. I can save all of the Excel or XDoc or DocX, DOCX
all right,
files. So you can both open it and save it as the same Word format, and then pass it back to your friends or your teachers or whatever.
nice. Um, Now, like we were discussing before, doesn't have Minecraft in the Software Center, but it does have EasyCraft and Minecraft, which are $3 a piece, plus something that's called MyTest, which is a multiplayer infinite world block sandbox. So Minecraft clones.
Minecraft clones, but we can actually install Minecraft, and we looked that up before we
Yes.
got started. So
Not only you have
do you
the
want to go ahead? You want to go ahead and get started with the install?
Yep, let's go ahead and this
Uh, Install.
the live CD actually has a handy little button. Where was it that I saw? Is it right there? It's a little CD. It says install Elementary OS. So let's hit the button.
Cool.
Now this thing only has an 80 gigabyte hard drive, which is perfectly fine for what this distribution is. All right, so we want English. Continue. All right, for best results, it's asking for 6.5 gigabytes of hard drive space, and that's connected to the internet. All right, now do we want to download the updates while we're installing? What do you think?
Um, let's not. Well, normally I would say yeah. Normally I would if I were installing it, but it's going to suck up some bandwidth.
Okay, good point. Good point.
And we are trying to stream. Actually, you got two cameras streaming. So
Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and skip that for right now. Install third-party software. Fluendo MP3 plugin includes MPEG Layer 3 audio decoding technology license
yeah,
from.
you do want that.
Okay. So that's basically your MP3 player.
It's actually the codec so that you can encode or decode MP3 files.
All right.
It is licensed with a license other than the GNU public license, and it's a little bit closed. So Ubuntu by default, which is what it's done, doesn't normally include it.
All right.
But they do make it obviously very easy for you to choose to install it.
All right. Now this machine already has XP installed on it.
How much are you going to repartition? Are
No,
you
I
going
think I'm just gonna wipe it out.
away or dual boot? Okay.
I'm gonna wipe it out because honestly, it's XP. It's not even supported anymore. So what we're
You've got all your
here.
files off that you need off?
Oh yeah, it was never actually used it for personal use. So
Okay.
all right, so I don't want to encrypt for security. It's not that important. Use
But isn't
LV.
but isn't that nice? You could do that.
Oh yeah, especially
You
it.
could
it
you could encrypt the hard drive right now at installation so that it was totally or considerably more secure. Like if you had a laptop and you were worried that people were going to be able to look at your files if they got a hold of it.
hmm Now, what's
You
use
don't want
LVM?
you don't need LVM. LVM is Logical Volume Manager, and that is it's a little bit complex, but it allows you to expand your disk space more freely.
All right.
Uh, I have one hard drive in here, so that won't be necessary.
All right. So we'll keep both of those unchecked. Following partitions are going to be formatted. Partition 1 and partition 5. Okay. And now we have our normal setup. Uh, yep, I am in the Eastern time zone. We'll leave it at New York. I am English. US.
Now, here's the sneaky part. What you don't know is that that chose that because of based on your IP address.
Really?
Really, really, it's already figured out roughly where you are.
They're watching us.
Yeah, a little bit.
Alright, so it's asking me for almost like registration information. I'm going to put it back here.
Okay, so it's actually what it's doing is creating a user. Um, so we probably ought to talk a little bit about Linux users. There are Linux users have rights based on each file or folder, and there can only be one root user. The root
Mm-hmm.
user is the most powerful user, and that is equivalent to, like in Windows, the administrator account.
Okay.
Um, and then so they're going to make you make a user account and set a password. And you can probably give you and it will probably give you the option to make extra accounts. When it does, there might or might not be a tick box for creating a home folder for each user. That's kind of like your My Documents, only it's a little bit more enforced in Linux than it is in Windows. And considering that you're talking about kids, it might not be a bad idea to make different user IDs so they can't screw up each other's.
Well, I'm definitely not giving them admin rights, so I'm keeping myself
Yeah.
as power user, and I'm not. They don't. They don't need me. They don't need to screw something up.
All right. Cool.
All right. We'll just keep
You
it.
can just make a user Wendol and a password and whatever it's going to be. It shouldn't show it on the screen. If it
Yeah, it's all
does,
wet.
like I can't read it anyway.
Yeah. Require a password. Encrypt my home folder. Gives the option to encrypt your home folder if you didn't encrypt the hard drive.
Yep. I wouldn't bother.
Nah, I wasn't planning
Uh,
to. A lot of times encryption, I'm not sure about how far it is on Linux, but a lot of times if you're running encryption on your Windows PCs, it's if you don't need it, it just slows it down for no reason.
yeah. And of course it's got to calculate encryption, so it always has an impact
Yeah.
of some sort. My problem is moving things around once they're encrypted is difficult. That's why I always have a problem with encrypted hard drives and such. Something starts breaking down and the wrong thing breaks down. Suddenly you can't get into your hard drive. You better hope you have backups.
Yeah, that's for
My
sure.
hard drive fails, so I want to get any uncorrupted files I can get at.
Alright, so now it's going through the install process right now.
Cool.
Alright. Let's see, retrieving files. Now, I'm curious to see how long this takes. It did ask for 6.5 gigabytes of data. Well, it's only 894 megabytes ISO.
Yep.
So it's asking for 6.5 gigs of space. While that's doing that, I just want everybody
Or make
to.
a swap file. It's got to make a swap file for your RAM
Yep.
that's 2.5 gigs at least.
Okay.
So,
Now this is significantly different than my last experiences truly installing Linux. I did play around a few years ago with Ubuntu, um, but most of my experience with Linux is from 16 years ago, something like that. And we're talking Red Hat. Uh, we're talking
okay.
we're talking command line.
So
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, GUI. While there was a GUI, it was a. You better make sure you have your everything settings correct, otherwise you're gonna destroy your video card.
Yep. Yep. You could scan on your video card. You had to know your cylinder mappings for your hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You kind of had a little bit of note to know what you're doing. People have made it a lot friendly, lot friendlier now.
Well, yeah, you can see by just this. I mean, what, 5 button clicks and it's installing. More like 10 and
Yep.
some typing, but still. So while this is doing this thing, it's configuring hardware right now. That's what its install portion is. It's
Yep.
very easy to install so far. It hasn't even shut down the background.
Nope, it won't. It'll just eventually tell you to restart it, that it's going to restart or ask you to restart, depending on the installer.
Hmm.
So I can kind of guess some of what it does and some of what it has based on Ubuntu.
Okay.
But obviously Ubuntu bundles more stuff with it. It would have taken up about 20 gigs to get started
Really?
because it has because it has LibreOffice and all those
Oh,
other
okay.
things
The kitchen
already
sink.
installed. Yeah, it's a little bit of a kitchen sink distro. Um, I'm okay with that. I you know, I don't have a hard drive that still functions that's under 500 gigs, so I'm not terribly worried about 10 or 20 or even 30. So now, if you really want to get hardcore and you really tweak your machine,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there is a distro out there called Arch Linux, and a few that are based on Arch Linux that are a little more friendly because Arch Linux is not terribly friendly. Um, but it basically compiles everything as you go. It's not quite down to they're called um, Linux from scratch, which literally you're compiling every program that you install on your machine from source code,
Really?
from editable text file source codes.
Hmm.
You're compiling the bootloader, you're compiling the kernel, you're compiling every piece that you put in there, the sound card drivers, the video card drivers, the mouse driver, the everything.
Don't screw it up.
But well, it just takes you longer. But the benefit that you get is that you don't have anything that you don't have anything that you didn't want,
Yeah.
and it is faster.
Hmm.
You know, um, if you aren't loading the video drivers for a Wacom tablet, or if you aren't loading the drivers for a Wacom tablet, then you save those few seconds or microseconds or whatever it is
Yeah.
because you don't have one and you know it doesn't. But Windows and some of these other distros, they kind of have to figure it out
And just support it anyway.
and be ready to support it if you do plug it in.
Alright, so we're into the running post-installation trigger software center.
Okay,
And removing
it'll remove some temporary
images.
files.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost
What's that?
done actually.
Yeah, it is. Excuse me one moment.
All right.
What are you guys doing? Jonathan, play nice. Alright, guys, go play. Go watch some TV. Sure. Close the door. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, not a problem.
Alright. Let's see. So, configuring, preparing, installing. So, looking at going through packages right now.
Yep. Be based on Ubuntu. It's going to be it's going to be Debian based, so it's going to use the Debian's or some of Debian's package managers. What a package is all the install files and configuration files, and a definition of all the support files that a particular program will need to install.
All right.
In Windows, you have about a bazillion. If you ever looked in your Windows folder, particularly your System or System32 folder, you see a whole ton of files with a .dll extension, dynamic link library. Those are all the support files for different programs to run. And then when you install a program, it'll install stuff in whatever install directory that you create, but it also has some base operating system support files. In Linux, for them to share stuff, they have what are called package managers. And so somebody writes the executable and then says, okay, I need to have these installed on your machine for my program to work.
Mm-hmm.
The package manager is what says, okay, you've downloaded this file. The first file tells me what all you need to install. And it will go out and get those programs if you don't already have them.
Okay.
And all for you. It used to be something called dependency hell. And you definitely would have run into it back when you had Red Hat. Red Hat used to use RPM packages, Red Hat Package Manager. Mm-hmm. And if you were doing it 16 years ago, you definitely ran into it. And basically, what they use now is called apt-get or apt-get or aptitude. Mm-hmm. And we're actually going to run an aptitude command later to install Minecraft.
Okay.
And it's going to say, a whole bunch of text is going to fly by, and it's going to say, we need this much hard drive space to install all these things. Press yes or no. And you'll press yes, and then a whole ton of stuff will scroll by, and it'll download a bunch of stuff. And it'll go, okay, I'm installing this, that, the other thing. 40,000 little pieces, because that's how Linux works. Actually, Unix works that way. It's a core philosophy that everything should be very, very small and built to serve only one purpose, so that you can update any given piece of having to update without affecting everything, which is why Linux rarely reboots anywhere near as often as Windows does. They're getting better about it. Proper kudos to them. Microsoft is definitely getting better about the 43 reboot to install something that you used to see. Yeah.
Alright, so installation is finished. You can continue testing Elementary now, but until you restart the computer, any changes you make or documents you save will not be preserved. So go ahead and restart now.
Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and pull the USB stick out once it shuts down. Yes, that is my hair.
What is your hair?
You'll see it on screen.
Oh.
Alright.
Ah, okay.
Oh, that's... I don't think I hit my camera. Apparently I did. As you can guess, I don't have a tripod of sorts, but you can see my other camera.
There you go. Is that a Kinect on top of it?
No, that is actually a live cam.
Oh, cool.
So it's
that thing's huge.
Yeah, it's What's array like? Okay, okay, it's not starting to wonder there because it just kind of.
Oh, it shut down. It didn't restart.
Boys, do you have to go to bed? Go play. Be nice to each other. Oh, that's a pretty screen.
And you've rebooted.
Yeah, it's very pretty actually. All right, so we'll get started.
Now, so that you know, this is using what's called a GNOME desktop, GNOME.
Now, what does that stand for?
Uh, I don't know. There's two major environments used in most Linux, and that's GNOME or KDE. And then Ubuntu uses its own called Unity, and then I already talked to you about Cinnamon and Mate.
All right.
I believe this is using GNOME in specific GNOME 3, and that'll only make a difference as you get more advanced and you want to go out and download programs, and it'll say requires GNOME 3.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we're installed. Now, probably one of the first things I want to do is create a non-power user.
Well, it's offering you the chance to. You can do everything under your ID. That's fine.
So,
But you've got a fair amount of privileges probably, and you'll still need to do sudo to do certain things, and I'll explain that in a second.
all right.
But if you want to create a kid's account, then that's fine.
Turn off the guest session.
So that they can only use the computer under the ID that you want. You can even check how often they've been logging in or not.
Okay, standard user. Actually, let's see. We will. Standard user. Okay, so it won't. I have to have so much. Okay, all right. So I have to have a password. Alright, so we're going to create that user. That also just gives me a non-power user to use as well. Okay, so I want to get that done first just so we have it there. What do I do first? Or what should I do first?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to recommend we do next is to install the proprietary NVIDIA drivers.
Okay.
So let me see how we go about that in elementary. Now there is probably a driver center, or possibly even in the software center.
Alright, let's take
on there, and it might actually have a link right on there. Install proprietary drivers.
Alright, so we've got color, hardware, under hardware, I've got color displays. Okay, that's the monitor. Where is the hardware?
Okay. And mind you, I am
Yeah.
not as familiar, but there'll be a hardware center or a control center because most of the big distros have that type of thing.
They've got system settings, and it's very much like Mac, but
Okay.
where it doesn't give me.
Possibly somewhere in there. Graphics drivers for elementary OS under system settings. Da, 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 da. Method A, plug about system settings. Tells you what kind of hardware you're running. Install graphics drivers. Okay. Ah. Yeah, I'm seeing it now. Under applications, system settings, additional drivers.
Applications. That's the defaults.
Applications and system settings. And you'll get kind of like a Windows control panel.
Yep.
And in the upper left-hand corner, it looks like, you'll see additional drivers. It shows what looks like a little green video card icon with a lock on it.
Not seeing that.
Okay. There is.
Let me zoom in and show you what I've got right here.
Okay. Of course, I've got some lag. All right. There is another way. Yeah. What is that in the upper left-hand corner there?
You've got the personal. You've got the top. The section heading is personal, and then you've got applications, desktop, language, notifications, and security privacy. And then below that, you've got hardware, but only things under hardware are color, displays, keyboard, mouse, touchpad, power, printers, sound, and Wacom tablet. Because, you gotta have that Wacom tablet.
There you go. All right. So I'm going to put a link in chat.
Okay.
Whoops. Actually, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I'm going to put a different link in chat. We'll need to go to that page. And we're running 64-bit. And the driver version you want is the latest long-lived branch. So it'll be that very first item there. And I guess you can put this on this. You can put this on the screen for folks if you like.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Where's my Obis? There we go. Put in Chrome. It's not okay. Let me remove it and re-put it in. It doesn't doesn't seem to like Chrome right now. Okay, there it is. It's up on the screen now.
All right. So what you should be seeing there is these are the Unix drivers for NVIDIA. This page is pretty static. And as they release new drivers for their stuff, they will put it up here. And the latest long-lived branch is 35241. And you can click the download button.
So let me get it pulled up on nvidia.com/object Unix.html. Pull it up over here.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at the top section, the x86 underscore 64, and then
Right.
latest long-lived branch.
Yep.
Keeps wanting me to upgrade my browser. So we'll go ahead and download it.
Actually, well, we'll let it download. We should probably use the legacy GPU version, the 34076, now that I'm thinking about it.
What are the differences?
The features implemented, and just how it tries to talk to them. I mean, this is truly a driver. So right now you're using one that was written by some guys who reverse engineered the video card and shared what they figured out. Right, you're using probably the Mesa driver, and what we want to use is the proprietary NVIDIA driver because NVIDIA wrote it, and while they didn't share the code with everybody, it can perform better, and we want that performance. So we're going to sacrifice a little bit of openness in our Linux system in order to get a little bit more performance.
All right. So go back and do the GPU version.
Yeah, the legacy GPU version.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do that.
A little bit of an older video card, so it doesn't need all the bloat of the newer version. All right. Play EverQuest. Nice.
Yeah. It's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, it has.
It's gotten a lot easier since the days of EverQuest. Now the question is, did it install already?
No. It just downloaded. So depending on what browser, I don't know the Midori browser, but there's probably a download folder. If you open up files, there's probably a download folder.
Okay, that was in applications. First page, files. Yep, downloads.
And you'll see
340.76.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Now we're going to have to go to a command line. Now we wouldn't necessarily have to do this except for the fact that I just don't know elementary well enough to know where to put their installed proprietary drivers. And actually, wait a minute. Let's see.
So what is Scratch?
Oh, they've got you doing it this way. Don't know Scratch.
Is this
so
kind of a frozen
you
screen?
you can't just double click on the run picture or on the run file. We have to go to a command line, and there will be something in there called a terminal.
Okay, I know the terminal,
Probably.
but how do you think we get rid of the
launch
Scratch?
Show me the screen again, so I can kind of see what's going on.
Oh, let me put it up on the.
So right now I'm looking at the browser.
Yep. Oh, Alterio wanted to ask you, Con, what was the benefits of doing gaming on Linux?
To be perfectly honest, mostly it's supporting keeping gaming companies making games for Linux for open source architecture. As Microsoft gets more and more proprietary, they're going to push more and more towards trying to force force games into Xbox like compatibility. They're going to want to go through their Play Store. The DRM is going to be more intrusive, and I can say all that, and I can prove all this by just showing you the history of how they're moving. So if we don't support uh, game companies making something for an OS that is run by the community, then we're going to lose our rights to do so.
Essentially, it's the same argument as free speech, basically. If you don't use it,
You're
if you don't
gonna lose
fight
it.
for it.
Yeah. All right. So you have up on there. What is that window?
It's Scratch. So all it says
Okay.
is a Scratch.
Okay. I think it's a notepad, but just Alt F4 or
Let's see.
well, click on the window first and then Alt F4.
Well, the window seems to be frozen.
Okay, that's fine. It might not do anything. Right. So you tried to X out of it?
Yep.
All right. Now most of the distros will have a tool that will eventually kill this thing automatically, but just try Alt F4 and see what happens. You're trying to do it and hold the camera, I see, but
Okay, there we go. Wait, no. Alright, NVIDIA downloads is not responding.
okay. Well, you already got the file down, right?
Yep.
Or is it complete?
Okay, force quit it. Okay, so that was what Scratch was. Alright. So we got rid of that. Now what do? We gotta go up to the terminal.
Yep.
There doesn't seem to be a minimize option.
Now,
on
mind you,
here.
we could. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, So, yeah, that is kind of weird. I see the little double arrow in the upper right corner for resizing things.
Yeah. And then on the
But I
left
don't see.
on the left side you've got the X to close it out, but you don't have a minimize.
It is interesting. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, that is kind of an odd omission. Is there a toolbar running across the top that has like a Mac does, where it's like file,
No,
it, et cetera,
no.
et
All
cetera?
you've got is the applications up top, and of course over to the right you've got the power and the Ethernet and the
Okay.
sound.
Notification window and that kind of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Interesting. Okay, so you're at your command line. Now, I do this because I want to be able to play the games, and I don't know if Minecraft is going to need this. Do you want to just try Minecraft now?
We can.
And Zynite, I got your point on you don't have to pay for the OS just to play video games. That's true. You should, if you find an OS that you really like, you should at least donate a little bit every now and again to them to help support them making continuing to develop that particular OS. Mind you, there are that when I say OS to continue contribution. That's who I would contribute to. There are other groups and organizations that will take care of the other stuff. I mean, great if you want to donate to them. Don't let me stop you. But at least I always try to send a little bit of something, 10, $20, something, to the distribution. And they'll always have a download page or a donations page of some sort.
All right.
But yeah, you don't have to. You can use it. You can use it all day for free, no problems, and it will never, set fire on you and blow up on you or stop working and stop letting you log in. All right. So
Now, just to show you, the Duro suggested right-clicking on the top bar. The only option it gives me is to close.
okay.
So you can see the little X
Yeah,
there,
it's just
and
enough.
it's an odd omission. It really is.
That is interesting. Now I know they support. I know they're big on the Alt Tab between programs kind of thing. But I'm surprised they don't have. What if you click on that double arrow? Does that maximize or minimize
If
instead of resize?
let's see, it full screens. If I double click, it just tries to do it faster.
I thought it might even do a window shade on you because that's a comp-his effect. That's probably something you can configure within the system, but I don't know elementary well enough to tell you.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
My guess is that that minimize is going to be that little double arrow, maybe the left side of it.
Double arrow to the left side? There's no double arrow to the left side.
Um, yeah, I'm saying that wrong. Um, if you click on the left hand of the double arrow, I'm betting that is your minimize. It's
Oh.
just such a small target.
No, no, it's one big
Oh,
box.
it just okay. Okay. All right.
No, well, it's well,
That's the way they do it.
Elementary OS. If you're listening, please give us a minimize option. We would appreciate it.
Yeah, that is.
All right. So,
Okay. So, do you want to install? Do you want to install the proprietary drivers, or do we want to try to install your Minecraft?
um,
Or do you want to go to the store and get or the software store and get your Office suite first?
let's get the offer suite. Now, do we have to go to, should we go to the store or do you want to try getting it through via the command line?
That's totally up to you.
Let's since we're in Linux, let's go old school and let's try to get LibreOffice through the command line.
Okay, so the command, and I'm going to put it in the chat here.
Okay.
It's going to be that.
Sudo. All right, now sudo is a big command. I've seen sudo a lot. Remind me what that
Sudo
is.
stands for super user do. So rather than logging in as root or as administrator, something in Linux, you can tell it to run something as admin. And that's what sudo is. Now, you being set up as a powerful user have access to run sudo, but you can limit who can or cannot run sudo.
All right.
Um,
All right. So it tells me it's unable to locate package LibreOffice.
okay, what is the exact text here?
And that's a good question for those of you for those that do want to try the command line style of doing this, the terminal style of doing things. Where do you get these commands? I mean, do you just search the forums to find the individual commands, or find the stuff like that, or?
Typically, yeah, you go out to the web. What you'll find is if you know the name of the package that you're trying to install or the program you're trying to install, usually it's just that intuitive. You just sudo apt-get install and the name of it, and it'll figure it out for you. Okay, we got to add the repository first. That's why.
The repository of ancient knowledge.
The repository of LibreOffice.
Okay.
If we want to do it, the hardcore old school way. So let me give you another command to enter. So if I've got a big project, LibreOffice, and I want to distribute my files, I make what's called a repository, which is just basically a file server that people can download it from. And then I put in that repository, I'll always put my links into that repository.
All right. Now, is there a space between repository PPA?
I would. Is there a space between? Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
Well, no. I'm saying. Well, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not streaming it. I can just widen
Yes.
the window. Okay. All right. The way my window is sized.
I get it. Hey,
Okay.
the Durinus. So it should be linked to the Ubuntu store. So I'm surprised it didn't come up with just the apt-get command. But
All right. So this app will not contain alpha or beta release. Not contain updates to the next week.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Press enter. Okay. Enter and continue. Keyring created. Requesting key created.
Cool.
Public key Launchpad PPA for LibreOffice packaging imported. No ultimately trusted keys found. Total number processed 1, imported 1. So what does all that give us?
So basically, that says it trusts the site that you just added as a repository because it got a signed key for it.
Sudo apt get update.
Okay, so now you have to update the little database of where it can reach out sudo or sorry apt-get reach out to get files.
And it's pulling from Ubuntu. Ubuntu.
Yep, it'll pull a bunch of stuff from there.
Now is this now? Remember when we went in it, we decided not to click to get updates during installation. Now is this something that would have been updated during installation?
Possibly. Basically, what those are is the updates that you would normally expect to get when you get a new OS.
All right.
Right. So it was packaged however many months ago, and then there have been patches and updates since then.
All right. Now, um, essentially, this is just updating a giant, basically like a giant library card, right? Of just the hey, this is where you can find this. Correct?
Yep. Yep. You just basically gave it another source for finding files. So the way in LibreOffice, it says, "Oh yeah, I know where I can get that."
Helps if I spell LibreOffice correctly.
It's all right. And hopefully we don't run into a problem.
Libelibreoffice.
R E.
Yeah, sudo apt-get.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Duris. It's your card catalog of where to find software. I like that.
Okay, so it's telling me invalid operation LibreOffice.
Okay, so you can't just type LibreOffice. You did sudo apt-get install LibreOffice.
No, I just went. I just went. Oh, wow! I'm an idiot.
It's okay.
We upgraded. All right. Yes, we'll go ahead. And there's a lot of reading here. Now this is Now this is basically what happens behind the screen, behind the nice, clean-looking screens where it says "Please install now" and watch this tutorial while it's installing. Right?
Yes, exactly. If you were going to the store and click install, you would just click install, and it would show you a nice little progress bar that went across and said, "Okay, installed." Like here, you can actually see everything that's going on, and you can even see where it has errors sometimes. Uh, uh, I've showed that off actually a few times when I'm playing a game. I'll launch it from the command line so you can see when the game has problems that you could troubleshoot in Linux because you can see it from the command line, but you can't troubleshoot from Windows because you can't see what's going on.
Nice. Ah, as the Duro says, always hit enter. The computer is your friend. Trust the computer. See, the problem is, Duros, I trust the computer. I don't trust the idiots at the other end of the internet connection that are trying to get me to put spamware on my computer.
Are you calling me an idiot?
I don't know. Are you trying to get me to put spam on my computer?
Well,
Nice.
All right, so it's going to go out and download that, and actually, we'll see what kind of an impact it has on our stream.
Well, I'm still sitting at about 25 frames per second, and looks like 1 meg up. So please report to the nearest termination center. Have a nice day. Nice. So Duros, now you're. I'm guessing you're running Linux as well. What distribution are you running? I don't know if you said before or not. I think you just popped in.
Okay. Says he plays Paranoia.
Nice.
I actually remember that.
Ah, he's a systems engineer.
Yeah, I need you. I need you to work at my company. I can't get the Linux guys and the Windtel guys to talk to each other, and they need to because my stupid VMware system is run by the Windtel guys, and I need to create Linux VMs on there. They sit there and stare at each other and don't do it while I wait for my machine to explain to the customer why I'm late.
All right, so Duros runs a little bit of everything. I'm guessing he either A has a lot of computers or B just likes to reinstall his OS all the time.
Well, a lot of Linux guys you'll find, especially the hardcore guys that really know it, they'll try out every Linux distro that comes along, or at least a lot of them, or they go through a phase of doing that. Uh, so yeah, so a lot of them, and mind you, I am not. I play with I play with Mint. I'll look at a couple other distros, but I've always ended up back at Mint because it's simple and it's pretty kitchen sink and it's got everything that I need.
All right.
And I'm familiar with it. I know where everything is, like where to install the proprietary drivers for video cards and stuff.
Yeah. Mint is nifty.
I like it. It is Clement is pretty cool. I like cinnamon. I know some people don't. It's real popular to have Tay right now, but I know we've actually picked up a couple extra viewers. So if any of you have any questions, feel free to speak up. Glad to have you.
Oh yeah,
We've
please do.
installed Elementary OS. It took us, I don't know, how long would you say it took us to install, Wendell?
Honestly, it didn't. The installation didn't take that long. It was fairly point and click as opposed to the, Linuxes I'm familiar with from 16 years ago. Um, so maybe 10 minutes at most from hitting the install button to up and running. And even then, I don't even think it was
Yep.
that long, honestly.
And what do you think of the usability as far as speed? Has it been?
Uh, it's actually, I haven't really noticed anything wrong with it. For those of you that did just come in, we're doing this on a Pentium D. It's a Pentium D 820. It's a 2.8 gigahertz processor. The hardware itself is about 7, 8 years old. It's an old Optiplex, Dell Optiplex 745. Workhorse of the corporate world from 8 years ago. Uh, and we're refreshing it because I'm trying to give this to my kids to be able to use for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't want them to screw up my computer, which I produce off from and stream off from. Uh, and two, just so they have something a little bit different in their own to work with. And especially with my daughter going to school, she's going into sixth grade. She's probably going to have to be doing a lot more on a word processor, um, stuff like that. Hence the reason for the LibreOffice installation. Now we're done.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you should have some sort of a launcher for it. Now, Elementary, I think, was one of those that you can launch just anything from the desktop, or maybe you have to go to the launcher bar or up to applications. I'm not sure.
Let's see. Okay, so
Uh,
I'm in the app.
Durus, Durus, do you know? Is there a way to minimize windows in Elementary? I don't see a neither. Wendell or I found a minimize window button.
Yeah, he didn't. He was actually here for a little bit of that. He didn't find anything. I think
Oh, okay.
he called shenanigans on it.
All right.
Yeah. Something about yeah. How silly. What distro desktop environment is this? It can be done. Elementary figures if you want to minimize things, use the dock. Um,
Oh, you can click. Yeah, you can click on the application as it sits in the dock, and it'll
oh,
automatically shrink it back down.
oh, hey, there is a
I
minimize.
forgot about that.
Thanks,
Good.
Duros. Okay, so we have found the minimize. Now, if we look in our applications, LibreOffice has been uploaded. It gave us LibreOffice, LibreOffice Base, LibreOffice Calc, which is, I believe, spreadsheets. You've got your Draw, which is your presentations. Or no, Impress is your presentations. What's Draw?
Draw is a vector graphics drawing package like CorelDRAW.
Okay. LibreOffice Math, which is a formula creator. LibreOffice Writer, which is basically your Word.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there is that. Now we just played around doing that through Terminal. Now I want to open up software since my daughter is actually learning Japanese over Skype. So I want to see if I can install Skype in here. So I want to look in the software and see if we can install Skype in the Software Center, which is
Okay.
basically our.
So we'll see how this goes. This should be interesting because remember that Skype is actually a Microsoft-owned product,
Good point.
but most distros do tend to include it, or at least the bigger one, the bigger kind of more kitcheny sink ones. So we'll see if it shows up in there. I think it should. If it's using the straight up Ubuntu store, it should be in there.
I got a bunch of Dutch stuff.
You got a bunch of Dutch stuff.
Ubuntu user Ausgabe.
Okay, that was when you typed in Skype
Yes.
in the search. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure we set our language to English.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in English. It costs money. All right. Let's. Okay. So apparently
Okay,
Skype isn't in there. While I'm
so go.
here. While I'm.
So we have a way. So
Okay.
go to Skype.com
All right.
in your browser.
Okay. All right. So it won't let me click the whole darn thing. Okay. All right. Are we gonna hit the normal download Skype?
Yep. And
Skype
you
for
should see
Linux.
us Skype for Linux. You got it. What you're looking for is a .deb file for 60-bit for Ubuntu.
All right. So all right, what selections I've got is I've got Ubuntu 10.04 32-bit, and I've got Ubuntu 12.04 multi-arch, and then I've got Deb.
Multi
Okay, the
multi
multi-arch.
art should be fine. Yeah.
So we're gonna save that. All right, transfer complete. So there is Skype, which okay. So we're gonna open in Software Center.
Yep.
Okay, there it is. Okay. See, only install this. Let me go ahead and put those on the screen so everybody gets a little better look at it. So that's the image. It's
Okay.
basically just asking me if I only install it if you trust the origin, which, it's
Yeah.
Microsoft, so you can only trust it so far, but for what.
Then you just click the install button.
Three guesses on what Microsoft uses for a lot of the web server infrastructure. I'll save you one. It's not a Windows server. Alright, so it's giving me a progress bar.
Okay.
So now, what I understand is this essentially, because you've got your software center, which is basically an app store. We downloaded a program Skype via the web browser, and it asked us to, and you wanted to open it up into Software Center.
Right. So it adds it to Center. Software Center is actually kind of a front end for a program called App that is actually your package manager, and you can do things a few different ways. Um, Much like anything with even Windows, you can do things more than one way. Well, in Linux, you can definitely do things in more than one way. Um, and so it just added it to the App Store and then allowed you to run the install from there. It does a couple other nice little things as far as checks on as far as dependency stuff and a few other things that are kind of nice.
Alright.
But that's all background stuff that you wouldn't normally see.
And I think I still want to try to install Minecraft.
Hmm.
I think I can go ahead and install one of the clones, and the reason being is because I've got Minecraft on my 360 for my kids, and I want to put it onto the computer for them, but I haven't paid the $27 that they're asking for it yet. So we'll probably just install the
Ah,
free clone for right now, and then
okay.
install it when I have the money for it.
All right.
As the Duro says, it puts a pretty front end on the ugliness of apt and DPKG. All right. So we're downloading.
Oh,
What? Huh?
oh, I just found something to send. I'm going to put this in chat. That link that I just put in chat is how
Ah.
to add a minimize button in elementary OS.
So apparently this is a common thing.
Apparently.
Oh, wrong button.
So Google is your friend as always, especially with Linux.
All right. Source digit and
So what you could do is point a browser to your stream, so you can copy and paste from on the Linux box from your.
all right. So I just threw it up there real quick.
That's cool. Yeah. Yes, Stuart, it does give you plenty of rope to handle with. So, and then what I had actually found earlier was
Oh,
install.
okay.
Go
So
ahead.
there is a app called Elementary Tweaks that it wants you to
Yep.
go apt-get, and then it gives
No, I would view elementary tweaks as a little bit of that rope that Durus was just talking about. So it is possible to get yourself into trouble with it, which is why it doesn't come by default.
all right.
But it would give you a minimize button if that does drive you crazy, which it would drive me crazy. So take the chance, but that's me.
Hmm. Elementary default. Well, I'll play around and see where we get with it, but let's not do it right now,
All right.
since the whole rope to hang myself with on live Twitch could be bad, but it could be entertaining. Google's a great junior
There you go.
sysadmin.
Yep, exactly. And then here's another one that I wanted to send you guys. So YouTube, how to install Minecraft on elementary OS Freya, which is the version we're running.
Okay. Oh, I. While we're on the subject of Minecraft and while we're still installing Skype here, the I'm learning
It's
Salesforce.
still. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's still installing. I'm only about two-thirds, barely two-thirds of the way to it.
Okay.
It's taken a while to install. I don't know if it shouldn't be a stream issue because I've got pretty good download. It's the upload that's we're
Okay.
that's a big hog right now. Anyway, I'm learning Salesforce administration for my job, and somebody has taken Minecraft and merged it with Salesforce. So basically, as your status in Salesforce changes, it'll change, like it'll flip a switch in Minecraft. Or if you flip a switch in Minecraft, it can change the status or change something in Salesforce. And then your org was your whole world, and then you've got villagers that are walking around are your contacts.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
It is. Yeah. Go little Pentium go. Oh wait, we're almost done. We're almost done. See, it's almost to the end. I know you can't see because it's whited out on the screen. I apologize for that. But it looks funky on the TV on the monitor in my hand. Ooh. Anyway, sorry. Sorry.
It's all.
What's
It's
that?
kind of like it's a backlit, kind of like shining a flashlight through your fingers.
Yeah. All
Cool.
right. So let's go up and around. Okay, so I added Skype.
Cool.
Now I don't have. I'm just want to see if it starts. I don't have any cameras or anything connected to it. So,
Can you be logged into Skype on more than one computer? I guess you could.
well, I've got. You don't
Never
forget.
tried.
I've got like two or three Skype. So
Okay.
Skype handles. But
Ah.
now if I go to start it, it'll ask for.
I see it asking for a username and password there.
So Skype 4.3 for Linux. I don't know what the versioning is. And
Yeah, I don't keep up on it.
it's actually kind of amusing that it didn't tell me I had. I'm surprised it didn't tell me you don't have a camera or a microphone.
Yeah, it doesn't have quite as many features actually as the Windows version. Uh, for instance, when I'm streaming, you've experienced it. I can't be the host to have multiple cameras because when I'm running it from Linux. So
All right, so that started.
cool.
We'll go ahead and get the
Now,
Minecraft.
now, now,
Oh,
much like much much like the version in Windows, it doesn't actually quit so easily. It quits more easily in Windows, but yet or in Linux than it does in Windows. But it won't just minimize to a system tray here because obviously there's no system to minimize to.
yeah. All right. So, what do you think we should do next?
Try your game.
All right.
Now, if it requires 3D, we may have to go back to the command line and do the NVIDIA driver install. But we'll see how it goes first. And if it runs on Mesa, then that's even cleaner and a little bit nicer.
Now this is
Kill
a.
9.
What's that?
So kill 9 with extreme prejudice is a kill. Yeah, it forces things to close.
All right.
Uh, you
I
can
ha-
kill processes within Linux, and that's basically way stronger than pressing Alt F4.
All right. Now, Duros, I have a serious question for you. Do you have a beard?
And is it gray? Of course. So yeah,
And, and the
I
second,
got a little bit here.
yeah, the second question is it gray? Buffering. Nice.
Oh yeah. Uh
Uh,
huh.
now,
All right.
for those of you that may or may not be aware of this, a common, I don't know what you want to call it, a common
Characterization.
characterization of Linux people, Unix people in general, as captured by Dilbert. It's right here. Now, I'm classifying this as a new show, so please nobody take me off for having a Dilbert strip here. But I think that looks astoundingly like Khan, personally.
My beard isn't that white. And I did used to wear suspenders, but I don't anymore
See,
because people
see.
told me made me look like an old man.
So
I'm reformed. That's it. I'm reformed. Well, not really.
nice. Vanquish agrees with me. It's a very close likeness to you, Khan.
Uh oh.
And
And I think Vanquish has actually, well, I know Vanquish has actually met me at the real life get together,
exactly, exactly.
which, if you're a member of Grievance, you should go to.
Yes, especially this year, we've got a castle.
That's true.
And Duros has a well-groomed beard, short, and there's only a little gray, but some white in it. So this will probably take a while. This, like I said, Pentium D, we're going, we're going, we're going. Um, so do you have? I mean, basically, I think I've got most everything I need for the kids. I've got the office package. I've got, well, we'll find out if like the Minecraft goes for my son. Um, I've got Skype and downloaded for my daughter. I'm gonna set up my printers later, which I'll probably have to
Okay.
Google my way through setting that up to connect to a network printer. Um,
Honestly, well, honestly, you'd be very, very surprised when you go to do printers and add network printer. My experience has been Linux is way better about it than it used to be, and it'll probably just find it and load it, no problems. In fact, it's, in my opinion, better than when I do it on Windows and it always wants to install the HP crap software
mhm.
or whatever, whatever it is that tells you whether or not this light is blinking on the printer. But of course, it takes 100 megs to do it,
Yeah.
and so but it's yeah. I think Linux printing is vastly better than it used to be. So
All right.
now I'm trying to remember on the Ubuntu store. I think there is a featured apps section or a recommended app section, so you might want to take a look at that
All right.
and see if you find stuff that you like there. I know they definitely have it in Mint. Let me see here. I'm looking at it here, and or they'll have like top downloads or top software or something such thing maybe.
Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Accessories, books, magazines, developer tools.
Now, education, you might find some interesting things there for the kids. You'd be surprised. Oh,
All right.
that's the vector graphics. It's the Inkscape. What was the one you were asking about? Draw, I think, right?
Yeah, it was straw.
Yeah, I think that's more Oh, it's another Adobe program that is similar to Illustrator. Illustrator, I think,
All right.
is what Draw is closer to, and then Inkscape is more like Corel Draw kind of stuff,
Ah.
graphics.
All right. So I've got it does have a top rated section, and of course it's got
Okay.
the ever popular VLC media player.
Yep. VLC is okay, but it's not necessarily the best player on Linux. It's nice because it'll play just about anything, and you don't have to set up any additional codecs and such.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't hurt. It's not very big. If you want it, rock it.
Hold on one second. What'd you say? You're, you guys are fine. Why don't you go watch some? Why don't you go play some Xbox? If you stay in here, you guys have to be quiet. All right. Okay, so BSD. Where were we?
BSD is an alternative to Linux, and it's got some interesting features to it. And I kind of like the way they structure their coders, but it can be a little fussier if something's going wrong or if you don't have the package that you want to get things fixed. So I like Linux for that. It doesn't have quite the pool of developers that Linux does, or application pool. All right. So I mean that's 90% of it, man. You just look through there, find programs that you're interested in, and run them.
Yeah. Um.
It seems to be behaving pretty properly. If you do end up wanting to do like try to do Steam on this thing, then you will need to definitely put in the 3D driver.
Mhm.
We can certainly give that a shot.
Well, I think it. I think it just finished installing.
Okay.
So let's take a look and see what. There's mind tests.
We could we could even, if you were really brave, try to install OBS.
That is tempting.
I have no idea how it would run on a Pentium D, but
Yeah, that's the only thing I worry about. Is like, is it really worth the effort of trying to get installed?
and it is not a distro included program, so you do have to do a few things to get it to work, but it's not too bad.
Well, actually, showing that might actually be rather interesting just to show. Um, Let me run the Minecraft clone here for a second, see if it'll crash the
All right.
machine. Because I'm curious. I mean, this is a little.
Yeah. All right.
So, new world name, we're going to say Testy. Uh,
I have never played Minecraft in my life. I know a lot of people do.
let's see. I mean, zoom in for you. It's taking a little while to render everything. But, oh, wrong mouse.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's essentially what Minecraft is here. I apologize for you guys on the stream that is seeing it this way, but the
The video equipment necessary to stream from one machine through another is
unavailable right now. I still want to get a capture card. I really do. By the way, if anybody is looking for any birthday and/or Christmas presents they'd like to send me, a video capture card would be much appreciated. Just want to put that out there. So I mean, it looks. I mean, it's not quite the same as Minecraft because it is obviously a clone, but it's working and
cool.
seems
All right.
legit. All right, so well, let me put my camera back here. We'll close that. And while I don't intend on streaming on OBS or off this machine, I am curious to see how involved an installation of something like this would be, especially for anybody out there that is willing to try this out and is listening to this. Now, how do I? Okay, ESC. Okay, exit to OS. All right, so that closed down. All right, teach me, master. What do I do?
All right. So I'm going to copy and paste some things in here. So you might want to. Let me see. How can I send this to you so it's directly on your Linux box? Ah. All right. You'll just have to figure it out. So here's the first step. We got to install FFmpeg. Actually, we got to install the repo for a particular FFmpeg. I believe that this is fairly recent.
Hey, Zadric. Yes, it's Elementary OS. I haven't messed with Linux since 16 years ago. Pretty much all command line. Uh, Essentially, I've got old 8-year-old Pentium D 2.8 gigahertz that I am resurrecting, and I want to give my kids. Unfortunately, XP at this point is pretty much useless and slow and dead, and I hate it. So I invited my friend Khan here to give me a hand, and he is kind enough to point me out a light distribution that is relatively modern in all essences, and it looks pretty clean. And it's a Pentium D 2.8 gigahertz. It's a 2.5 gigs of memory, and it seems to be running perfectly fine. We just put Minecraft on the screen, or well, a Minecraft clone quote on the stream, and it ran perfectly fine. So that's what we're doing right now. Uh, Now, Khan, I need to do the sudo get apt repository.
Adapt repository, and then the PPA that you're looking for is there. I won't try to pronounce Krilshagorgraf for FFmpeg next.
Now, what we're doing right now is we're going to give a shot at installing OBS on here. Now, I don't necessarily intend to stream from this. However, since this apparently is a little bit more involved than a normal installation, I'm curious to see how more involved this is. And I put PPS instead of PPA.
Hey, actually, do you have an instant messenger account? AOL, Yahoo, Google,
I mean, I have a Gmail.
any of them?
I have a Gmail account. I haven't used AOL in years.
Okay. Let me see here. Well, I'd have to teach you how to do that one too. Ah, shoot. Okay. I was just thinking of trying to use instant messenger so that we could, so that I could cut and paste your Linux box here. A little bit easier. But actually, duh.
Chatty's well, no, Chatty requires Java.
Yeah. We got Twitch here. It's just, or you could just open up the stream on your Linux box there
Good point.
and pop the text out.
Good point. I hadn't thought about doing that. See, this is why I have you around, right?
And just some of these commands are difficult to just read on one screen and type on another. Until you get used to them, and then you realize, oh, so all I really need to remember is Curiel Carl F FFmpeg next, because I know the rest.
Apparently, we're indicated the channel is for mature audiences. I didn't realize that.
That's okay. All you really need is the chat window anyway.
Yeah.
If it'll let you can let it come up.
Let's see. Pop out. Yep, there we go. Alright, so pop out Twitch. Alright, there we go. Oh, I was about to swear.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Well, apparently we're a mature channel, so.
Now I don't know if Midori is that based on Firefox?
I don't know. It came installed with Elementary, so.
I know that's what comes with it, but I'm trying to remember. I'm not getting buffering right now, but I was earlier, so.
Okay, so I did. So I added the FFmpeg next. Now what do I need to do?
Sudo apt-get update, same as before.
Oh, sudo apt-get update.
Okay. Once that completes, and that'll take a few seconds.
So it uses the same engine as Chromium Affair. What's I know Chromium, but what's a Chromium Affair?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It uses a bunch of stuff. I'm sure you've got a pretty big long list going.
Yeah. All right. Sudo apt get install ffmpeg. Continue, yes, because we trust the computer. So now what's now we're having to install the MPEG codec? Is that what
Yep.
we're doing?
Actually, a fairly specific FFmpeg codec, FFmpeg next, and that is going to give us our video rendering.
Okay.
They've changed it a few times. That's part of why it's actually quite a bit easier now than it was 6 months ago. Even 6 months ago, you still had to hand edit some files and possibly compile the actual code in order to get things to work. I still have never personally, although I was recently that they finally got some of the little browser add-in that allows for like the transparencies added to the program, or the CLR browser.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then I'm familiar with it. I've seen the CLR browser stuff a couple times.
Yep. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure you run OBS through the stream, right? But
What's
just
that?
from Windows, right?
Yeah,
You're running OBS through this stream just from Windows, right? Yeah.
correct.
Cool.
Yep. All right, now do I have to do another apt-get update?
After you added the OBS
Yep.
repo, then
Yep.
yes, you have to do another apt-get update. And then to see what you've learned, what would be the next?
Sudo apt-get install OBS Studio.
You got it. It's OBS-Studio, but yeah.
Okay. No app get install. Gotta remember the install because that kind of screwed me up earlier.
It does. I still miss it every now and again myself, to be perfectly honest.
I think my boys went to sleep.
Did your wife run interference for us?
No, she's working.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hence the reason also I'm able to do this tonight, because if she is home, she probably would not appreciate me doing this.
Spending the whole night playing with the Linux.
Exactly. Alright, so that's installed.
Okay. So, don't know if, well, what would you like to do? Technically, start streaming, or you could open it up and see what it looks like, I guess. So minimize that and find it. It should have populated into your applications
Yep, it did.
there somewhere.
Now, did. Alright, so a new FFmpeg wasn't an application, so it didn't put that into the applications.
No, no, because that's a back end thing.
Alright. Well, I was curious, I didn't know.
No problem. Yeah.
Alright, the GNU General Public License.
Ah, yes, you must. Good job. GNU.
Alright, so this looks like the overall version.
Yep.
Alright.
There you go.
It's installed. I
There you
can't
go.
imagine it ever actually stream from this machine just because I think I'd rather shoot myself since it's not very powerful, but So that was an example of a little bit more complicated installation where you had to get the codec first, you had to get the and then do um and then you had to install the application itself. So apparently Zadric was 15 and he felt like he was hacking the government using the terminal. The sad thing is, I don't remember terminal as terminal. I remember terminal as the command line because I grew up with DOS. I grew up with the old MS DOS, the Tandy 1000, visual or not even Visual Basic. I'm sorry, Basic. You know, having to play with the audio exec.bat and so. All right, well,
Okay.
I
Uh, I can't think of anything else that I would say. If we wanted to do a follow-on stream, that's why I made you, or that's why I had you install the OBS, so you could actually stream from that.
mhm,
So we could actually see what was going on in your machine. Although I don't know what kind of a load that would put on it, but we could test that out sometime.
yeah,
Um, you've got, let me see, you've got Office. You've got a way to watch movies, I think.
yeah. I've got a video player there.
You've got a. Would you rather add like Chrome,
What's
Chrome
it?
browser, or
Yeah, I probably would rather put Chrome on here personally.
understood? And it is going to be an easier way, for instance, to watch. I don't know, Twitch,
Yes, Twitch. Twitch is good.
because Firefox is currently blocking anything Java.
All right.
Well,
So
that's
now,
a simplistic way of putting it, but that's what they're doing.
okay. Now, am I just able to go to the Chrome website, or
You are able to go to the Chrome website. That won't get you the PPA, so you won't get updates necessarily.
oh, so should
But
I
we
go?
can, but we can do that. The simplest way is just go to the Chrome website. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going with the 64-bit Ubuntu.
Yep.
see, Software Center might have. Where's Software Center? Let's see if it has. It probably does have Chrome in the Software Center.
It probably has Chromium, but not Chrome, because Chrome has some proprietary stuff to it.
Ah, yeah, it's got Chromium. That popped up first.
Yep. But I would be surprised if it actually had Chrome.
No, it just seems to have Chromium.
Okay.
Now, Chromium is the open source.
Chromium is the open source base for Chrome, but it's not going to have all your Flash player compatibility stuff, or at least I don't think it does. So you want actual Chrome for what you're going to want to use it for.
All right. Okay, so I popped up with a updater for Elementary, and I'll do that after the stream.
Yep, you should.
All right, and I am looking for the files, which was right there.
Yeah, Zedric, I know Mint doesn't have Chrome, the actual plain Chrome in its store, and I don't think Ubuntu does. So I would have been pretty surprised if it had showed up in Elementary.
Internal error.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Did I download it too quickly? Or did I try to start too quickly?
I couldn't tell you, man. There's enough lag in this stream. And most of the screen is a white blur.
Yeah, I know, unfortunately.
That's all right. I was thinking about doing something like this for setting up a Raspberry Pi.
That actually, I've seen several. Let's try to re-download this. Oh, not the mobile app. I've seen several times where Ubuntu on Raspberry Pi is very popular.
Yeah, there's a specialist version of Ubuntu for it. I tried it on a Pi 2. It's a little slow, but I was using an older memory card that was not a Class 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually literally today picked up a Class 10 card to throw in there and see if that doesn't make it quite a bit faster.
All right.
Ah, Duro's giving a much more competent explanation for why Chrome is not in the store and why Chromium is good but is missing the piece that we're looking for.
Oh, thank you, Duras. No, no. Okay, that's why. The
Okay.
oh, sorry. The first installation only downloaded 2 MB.
And then you
It wasn't the full.
got it.
Yeah, it wasn't the full
It hadn't
file.
finished downloading it.
Correct.
Got it.
So that was my bad of trying to be too quick. And then I can just delete this stuff, right? Rename, remove. Yeah, move to trash. And then move to trash. Alright, so now we're just waiting on the installation to go through.
Okay, cool.
It's
So,
my little Pentium D that could. My little Pentium D that could.
so we got a few people in the chat room in here. Any other suggestions that Gwendol might need for his kids for his new elementary OS distribution? We are certainly open to suggestions. I don't have kids, so I don't pay too much attention to stuff real closely. And Wendell doesn't hasn't done Linux before for a very long time, so
Yeah, it's 16 years. Hey, Thaman! You're here!
he made it.
Yay!
Hey, actually, he's checking to make sure we aren't going to run too long and interrupt his stream.
Yeah, no,
Clayman has a stream coming up in about a half hour.
yep.
Is that about right?
About a half hour, swords drawn, guns loaded. He's going to be doing H1Z1 tonight, which, actually, let me get that downloading. Should have downloaded this the other day. Anyway, so he's going to be downloading, or playing H1Z1 in a little bit. It starts at 11 Eastern, 10 CST. Oh, I need Steam. That's what I need. And I was going to try to pop in and play with him a little bit.
All right, we're going to see how much your bandwidth can handle, huh?
Exactly. Let's see if we can take it down.
A full-on MMO on your Windows machine while streaming and something and loading Chrome onto your Linux box. You're just hardcore, man.
Burn, baby, burn. Hey, I have a 75 meg downloads, 75 meg down, so let's see how much of this we can use.
There you go. All right, so Duros just linked us a Linux for Children. It talks about some of the different, specifically kid-based, kid-designed Linux OSs.
Let's see, Life Hack Linux for Kids. Let's see what this is. And
Okay, so now I'm starting to look at the apps. Let me see here. G Compress, 100 educational games. Art time, vector drawing, all sorts of cool stuff there. Child's Play, which is like memory skill stuff. Tux Paint, I knew about. Super Tux, you guys actually saw me stream a couple, 2 or 3 months ago. I was playing it.
now
It is a very fun Mario game, game.
that's a downhill racer, isn't it?
There's a couple. There's a couple of different ones. One of them is a downhill racer. One of them is like Mario Kart. I think that's Tux Kart. And Super is like a Super Mario.
All right.
So those are all pretty cool. Atomics. I don't. Ooh, that sounds neat. Kids build molecules out of atoms. Neat. Where was the kid? And Tux Typing to teach them how to type.
Ah, it didn't go to the actual web page.
Cool.
Tux of Math Command.
Yeah. Very cool. And I pretty much guarantee those are in your store there.
Yeah.
How's the Google install doing?
We seem to be, I think, almost done. Let's see. Alright, looks like it's done. Let's take a look at the applications. Google Chrome.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make it my default. Because I like Chrome.
There's some things that not super keen on it, but it is easier for a lot of folks. So,
Well, I just like the fact that because I've between my work computer, this computer here, everything seems to they seem to share everything.
yep,
All right, so yeah, it's running. So we got it
excellent.
updated, and this life hack that we put up in that Duros put up in the I think it's Duros put up in the chat.
Yep,
My assimilation to Skynet/Google has now been completed.
that's right.
All right. I
All
think
your keystrokes are belong to us.
pretty much. Yeah. Well, they gotta make that money somehow. Hey, think of it this way. All right. They may look at every keystroke we do, but they give us a lot of answers. In all honesty. So if we had to pay for these answers, I think we'd be broke.
Yep. All
All
right.
right.
So you now have a working machine, man.
And honestly, it's pretty quick. Okay, it's not quick, but it's usable. It's certainly not like XP was on this thing.
Very cool. And it's supported. And there will be new stuff out. And if you add uh, we could probably do some time. I'll help you out with make sure the 3D driver is installed. That might make it a little bit snappier, a little bit faster
Hmm.
if we install the proprietary NVIDIA driver. Um, and then if you scrounge up more RAM for the thing, it'll be a little happier. Other than that, it should do you guys pretty good.
I think so. I'm hoping so, at least anyway. And now my kids have a computer that they can mess up on their own. And honestly, if they end up destroying something, I'm not gonna be too sad.
Because you can reload it in what was it? We spent about the first half hour talking, so 2 hours.
Yeah, and honestly, probably not even that long. The reason being is because hopefully by then I'll know a little bit more about how to run it and use it. Because I probably have another machine here. I'm probably gonna go ahead and put this on for my
Yeah.
desk. So
Okay.
I think that's it. Unless anybody in the chat room has anything they'd like to say or like to ask,
Of course, now we'll have to wait 30 to 60 seconds for a response.
pretty much. I thank you. I thank you, Con, for your help. I appreciate
Okay.
it. And
No
please
problems.
stick around for H for Thaman with swords drawn and guns loaded when he's playing H1Z1. Um, that's pretty much it.
All right.
I
Hey,
want
I
to thank
appreciate.
Duros for participating as well. Thank you,
Yeah,
Vanquish.
absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Night, guys.